Hello, my name is Coach Sierra Girardi, and I am here today to go through workout number 1 with you guys who are participating in the Healthy Habit Challenge. This is so that you completely understand exactly how to do each exercise correctly with the correct form and tempo, or how fast you're doing it, and also have some different options available to you as you're doing these workouts. They will have the same exercises week by week, but the difference will be that each week it'll get just a little bit harder every time, either by adding more repetitions or adding more of a tempo where you're moving even more slowly through an exercise. But regardless, this adds progressive overload so that you see some strength progress over the next 4 weeks. So with that to be said, we're going to get into it. I'm going to do this workout with you like exercise by exercise so you see exactly how you can move through this workout in ideally about 20 minutes. So this first exercise is for mobility purposes. It's a rainbow rotation in a half kneeling position. And you're going to take the hand that is closest to the wall, you're going to turn it and touch the wall with your palm. Rotate all the way around behind you, kind of like hug the wall. Bringing it back. Part 2 is you rotate and twist back for a good thoracic rotation. And we're gonna do 5 of these on each side. Now with this exercise, you can also do this sitting in a chair if kneeling is too difficult for you, or you can also stand and do this exercise. The point is being able to stretch through your chest and your shoulder as you rotate back toward the wall, and then stretch through your spine and thoracic as you twist and rotate. And we're gonna do one more, and I believe that will be 5. Okay, you'll notice I had my left leg forward, so basically opposite leg to the wall. And I'm gonna turn, and we're gonna do the same exercise on the other side. So I have my right leg up, left arm to the wall. We're gonna rotate back and around and rotate. Another thing to keep in mind with this exercise, if being this close to the wall is too difficult for you, you can also move away from the wall. I'll give you an example in just a second. So that's 4. So let's say that I had a hard time having the mobility to get around. You can move a little further away from the wall and do a reduced range of motion that way and still twist. And that should be 5. So 5 of those on each side. Next, you're gonna do, we have hip drivers and good mornings. Since I'm already on the ground, I'm gonna do hip drivers. So you're gonna have one knee on the ground, one leg in the front, just about at a 90-degree angle. I like to put this hand on my hip, and this other hand you're going to raise overhead as you push the hips forward. Sit up nice and tall into that stretch, pause, and then rock back. 2, 3, and we're doing a total of 5 here. And 5. Then you'll switch and do the other side. Now, on this side, you'll be able to see as I'm shifting forward and raising my arm overhead, my hip is extending or lengthening. So you get a good stretch in the front of this hip. You might also get some stretching in this glute and also through the knee area and the quad. Just kind of depends on how tight you are and how much range of motion you have in this. Now I have quite flexible hips and hip flexors, so I'm able to extend pretty far. Okay, last warm-up exercise is a good morning. So there's a couple of ways you can do a good morning. You can use a broomstick or a dowel. I have a PVC here. You can also use just like a weight that you hold in the front. But the idea is you take this guy back and behind, and then you can just hold it however. You can extend your arms out. You can keep them nice and close if your shoulders are flexible. But the point here is you're gonna do a slight bend in the knees, and then you're going to bend from the hip and push your hips back while keeping your spine nice and neutral. And once you hit the stretch in the back of your leg, in the hamstrings and the glutes, you're gonna stop and pause before coming back up. Just like so. And I'm gonna do one more. I'll show you from the side. Okay. So now we've gone through one round of that warm-up. We are going to go through that warm-up one more time. So 2 rounds of 5 on each, starting with the rainbow rotations. Now we're going to do the second set of hip drivers. So once again, one leg forward, one leg on the floor, hand on the hip, other hand goes overhead as you shift forward. And lastly, we're gonna do one last set of the good mornings. Now, I'll show you a different version of this with a dumbbell. So you can hold a dumbbell in front of you. Again, slight bend in those knees, hips go back. This is the point I feel stretching, so I'm gonna pause before standing back up. And one more. So now that we've warmed up, we are going to start in on the first exercise of 4. And the way that I wrote this workout is you do 3 sets of 8 to 10 reps, just depends on how difficult it is. You're going to use a pair of dumbbells for this exercise. And you're gonna stick with the same exact dumbbells every single week. So we're gonna do a single arm row. Now, I have a bench here. If you don't have a bench at home, you can use a chair, you can use the counter, you can use the edge of a couch, anything really that you can rest your hand on. And then you're gonna take one leg back, and then you're gonna push your hips back so that you can get your chest a little more parallel to the floor. You're gonna take your arm, you're gonna take the dumbbell in this hand, and then you're going to pull towards your hip pocket or towards your belly button. Pause at the top before coming back down. Now, I am going relatively slow here, so I'm taking about 2 seconds to come up, pause, 2 seconds, going down. I believe that's 5 reps, 6, 7, and 8. Okay, and then you're going to switch. Same thing, pull to the top, slow lower down. Now that I've completed that exercise, I'm going to wait 30 seconds to give my muscles a little bit of a rest, and then we're gonna do 2 more sets of 8 on each side. Now that I've been moving around a little bit more, I started to get warm, so I took my sweatshirt off. By this point, you should start to feel like you're warming up a bit. Now I'm gonna show you a second version of this dumbbell row that you can do if you are struggling to find a good position where you feel that pull in your upper shoulders and back. So another version you can do this is by using a surface where you can put one knee and one hand on the bench for support. This other leg, you're gonna pull just behind the hip joint so that it's out of the way. From here, then you can grab your dumbbell with the other hand, and then you're already in a perfect position with your chest. You're already parallel with the floor. And then you pull, pause, slow lower down, 2, 3, 4 more. And then you're gonna switch and go to the other side. Now, a few things to keep in mind as you're doing this exercise is look at your head position. Are you tucked down or pushing your head forward rather than keeping it neutral with the rest of your body? Another thing to keep in mind is making sure you're not rounded as you pull. You want to keep that back nice and flat, nice and neutral. And that's 8. So once again, we're going to wait 30 seconds and then we'll come back to this for one more round. One last option that you have for this single arm row exercise is doing what's called a floor row or a floor single arm row. This is if you literally have nothing to help support yourself, or you struggle to keep your chest parallel with the floor without having that knee supported. So the other option is to do this from the floor. Now, what this looks like is you're on all fours, knees are underneath hips, this hand is underneath the shoulder, and then this other hand is gripping the dumbbell. From here, you do the same rules, pulling into the hip and then back down. So now that we've done all 3 sets, we're going to move on into the floor press. Same thing, you're gonna use both dumbbells for this and a mat if you need one. So what you're gonna do is you're gonna lay all the way back with your heels up by your hips, and you're gonna start with your wrists over shoulders, creating kind of an arrow with those dumbbells. From here, you're gonna bend the elbows, bring them down, touch the floor, and then back up. Same rules here, going nice and slow on the way down, pause at the bottom before pressing back up. Once you've done your first set of 8, rest 30 seconds, and then we'll do that same exact exercise for 2 more sets. If you do have a bench, you can do the same exercise with that instead of doing it on the floor. The only difference is you have more range of motion coming down. And again, we're gonna do 8 repetitions, nice and slow. Now, once again, we're going to rest 30 seconds before going into our last strength training exercise, which is the goblet squats. So for this exercise, you just need one of your dumbbells, and you're going to cup it at the top like this, just under your chin, like so. I like to put my feet about shoulder width with a slight V. Some of you might find you need to do a wider stance or bring the feet closer in. Do what makes sense and is comfortable for you. The biggest things to keep in mind when you're doing a goblet squat is make sure that your heels are planted into the floor and your toes, your big toes, are pushing into the ground. From here, you want to set your hips back and down and then push the knees outward, making sure that they don't cave in. So what we don't want to happen is when you're doing a squat that they come in together. And we're going to do 8 repetitions. Once again, nice and slow. On the way down, pause at the bottom, return to the top. And one more. Once again, we're going to rest 30 seconds and then do set number 2. So for this last exercise, this is very core related. We want to work on that core stability and core strength to be able to brace properly when we're doing things like weightlifting. So same thing as always, we're doing 3 sets of 8. Start with your arms straight over the shoulder joint, both towards the sky, both knees at tabletop. You're going to extend same arm and same leg down to the floor and back to center. As always, we're going to rest 30 seconds and then do 2 more sets of 8. Thank you for joining me for this workout. If you have further questions, please feel free to reach out to me on the EverFit community page or send me a DM. I am always available to answer any questions or offer further modifications. Happy lifting.